since you born, then you live and die. So if tomorrow never comes, it comes at no surprise. Looking death into his eyes, yeah, I witness guys start to recognize, analyze their own demise. Some people wasting time, walking around hypnotized, blinded by success, impressed but can't identify what's real with fake because the money just intensify. Jealousy plus the hate that equals genocide. Hey, what's up, y'all? I'd like to welcome y'all to another episode of Life on Diagonal. As always, I am your host, EJ Briz. Just wanted to make a quick video. I got some running around to do. It's Memorial Day weekend, so look up how Memorial Day started and everything. Rest in peace to the fallen soldiers, the people that we lost, the people we remember. However you celebrate it, hope everything is going well for you. Hope you had time to spend time with family, friends. I know it's a lot of graduations, prom seasons, people have been having parties. So I hope everything is going wonderful for you. As always, you see my t-shirt, Reflect, Correct, and Heal. That's from my clothing line, Healing Hyenas. Also, make sure you check out my other podcast with my co-host, Still Biz, Thought Ops. Make sure if you're subscribed to, Life on Diagonal, make sure you're subscribed to Thought Ops and vice versa. So like I said at the beginning, just now, just a few minutes ago, it's Memorial Day weekend, and every time a holiday come around, especially when it's the first holiday without my mother, I'm kind of down in the dumps. I try to pick myself up, but it's hard. It's hard. People say it get easier after a while, but we'll see. It's hard. So my sister contacted me and told me that she was gonna have a get together, and I'm not gonna lie. At first, I wasn't gonna even come down because it's like when you're in a certain state, especially like when you're dealing with depression, it's like you don't want to be around anybody. My energy was down. I'm tired. The weather has sucked the past few days. It got better the past couple of days. So, but the weather sucked. It's still kind of chilly outside and everything, but this sucks. So I wasn't really in the mood, but I pulled myself up. I'm like, let's go to my sister's house, be around my family, and I'm glad I did. I had a good time. I appreciate my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, for inviting me. They always do a wonderful job at their house, for extending the invitation to not only just family, but friends as well. And it's dope because when I go to my sister's house, it's a chair that my mom used to always sit in. So my sister designated that chair as my mom's chair. She has a picture of my mom. She has my mom's obituary taped to the chair, so that's my mom's honorary chair, and she has some plaque that she bought that sits where my mom would actually sit. So it's a dope idea. I told my sister I should be allowed to sit there since I am the firstborn and I am the one who made her a mother first. But that's my sister's house, my brother-in-law's house. So so the reason why I wanted to do this episode, it's crazy how things come around, I guess, full circle. So a couple of weeks ago, I was scrolling on Instagram and I came across a post where it says that, if you have siblings, even though you have the same parents, you all have experienced a different life with your parents, and you view parents differently, and you view your upbringing and how you grew up differently. And so I was thinking about it when I saw it, but went to the back of my mind, but it just resurfaced after I was around my brother and sister yesterday. And I'm like, man, this is good. And we were just reminiscing, talking about some things in our childhood, things that happened growing up, especially with our parents. And I was like, man, it's just like what I saw on Instagram a couple of weeks ago about how you could live in the same household, have the same parents, but experience life different. And listening to my brother and sister's point of view, I was like, man, now what I saw actually makes sense. I am the oldest. I'm 3 years older than my brother and sister. They both are twins, so they have that twin thing, that special connection, that special bond. Um, we always clown and say since I was the oldest, I was the test child because um, I felt like my parents tested a lot of things out on me and kind of reconfigured things when it came to my brother and sister. Like, for an example, I'm about to date myself just telling this. But I didn't get my first cell phone until I was 19. I had to buy my own cell phone, I had a job. This was back in the day when minutes were free after 9 o'clock. And I don't even think it was a text messaging back then. I can't remember if it was I can't remember. But then I remember my brother and sister, they were in high school and they were 15, 16 years old. My parents found that it was important that my brother and sister had the cell phone. So I'm looking at the situation um, man, I had to buy my own cell phone, but y'all provided, cell phones for them. And thinking about my first car. My dad purchased the car, but a few of the stipulations is I had to pay my dad the money back. Um, had to pay for my own car insurance, and I had to pick my brother and sister up from school. Now, this is where I say they reconfigured, um, you know, uh, how they raised us. Now, me and my brother and sister, we went to different when okay when high school when we got to high school. I was a senior, and my brother and sister were freshmen. Um, but we didn't go to the same high school. They went to a different high school, which was the rival of my high school. If you grew up in Akron, I went to Bookto High School, 1040. So, like, if you see me wearing a T-shirt, or if you go on my website, you see 1040. 1040 stands for the address, 1040 Copley Road. They recently, a few years back, tore down the old Bookto and built a new school, and it's not on Copley Road anymore. It has a different address, so that's one of the reasons why we call it 1040, because we went to the original book though. And they went to a high school. They went to Firestone. I'm smiling because I know people that went to Firestone. I'm cool with people that went to Firestone. So so back to what I was talking about. So one of the stipulations, the schools were probably maybe 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes away from each other at the most, So I got a school before my brother and sister, so I had to pick my brother and sister up from school, drop them off at home, uh, had a job and everything. So when we was discussing our childhood, it all made sense, because it's like you kind of know that you had a different childhood, but you get so wrapped up in your childhood and how things affected you. You really don't really think about your siblings too much. There was, I hope my brother and sister are not watching. I'm gonna tell them about this episode before I post it. Um, Especially with my sister, there was favoritism because she was like the only girl. She had her own room. Me and my brother shared a room. My sister was allowed to get away with a lot of stuff that me and my brother wasn't allowed to get away with. Like my sister, like when she um got in trouble, she was allowed to say certain things to my mother and father. She was allowed to slam her door Me and my brother wasn't allowed to do none of that. So it was a lot of stuff. So me being the oldest, and like I said, I'm a parent myself. Parenting does not come with a handbook. So we try to figure out this parenting situation as we move along in life. Um I feel like I got the short end of the stick a lot of times. Um because I was the oldest, and um like like we talk about, I feel like I was the test child. So I look at a lot of stuff and I'm like, man, I feel like I did not get treated fairly. I had to cut the grass, and the crazy thing is, like, when we lived on a corner lot too. So if you know anything about the corner lot, um, the corner lot is like, you got the yard, you got the wraparound, and then to make it even worse, like, we stayed catacorner to a shopping complex. So not only did I have to cut the grass, I had to pick up trash first because we stayed in the hood, and people just throw their trash out the window. And my dad used to be like, "Well, you can't run over trash." I used to have to pick up the trash, cut the grass. I had to shovel snow. None of which my brothers, I don't care what they say, my brothers and sisters didn't have to do none of that. They didn't have to cut no grass, shovel snow, none of that. That was all my responsibility. Um, then along with the corner house, everybody knew where I stayed at, because, like I said, I stayed catacorn to a shopping complex. So everybody, like, if we was outside doing something or playing basketball, and then my dad had this distinctive yellow truck, the yellow pickup truck. So everybody knew where I stayed at. So you know, it's crazy because, and nothing against my parents, I know they did the best that they could, but and I don't know if I really wanted to. Sometimes I think about this now. Um, I wasn't really allowed to play sports, and when I say I wasn't allowed to play sports, it was the way that my mother father schedule ran. So it was just like, how you gonna get back and forth to this and that, moving around and everything, because where we stayed at, like, if we stayed across the street, Akron has, at the time, I think at the time Akron had 8 high schools. So I was on the borderline to even going to Busto. Like, if I stayed across the street, I was going to be going to another school, another high school, Kenmore High School. So it's just like I was just like right at the borderline. So like, I would walk to school and I would walk home from school. But it's crazy because, like, when we walked home in a group. It was a group of kids, and like my last friend, not my last friend, but my friend Brian, his house was the last house. And then after, Brian went home, I had another 15-minute walk home by myself. So we walked home from, we walked home from Book, though, because when I went to middle school, I went to middle school at Perkins, and it was just like we had to ride the bus because Perkins was even further than Book, though, and it's just like you didn't. I walked home a couple times from Perkins. It was like, you don't never want to do that. So I walked home. My brother and sister. So I was able to get a car, and my dad did help me go to driving school when I was 16. Got my license. Got my temps and my license when I was like 16. So he helped me do that. So my brother and sister, they got chauffeured home from school. I had to walk home from school. So, but being the oldest, you have to go through, trials and tribulations, and you see your younger siblings come up and, you know, get pampered. But it's just crazy because, just to, oh yeah, back, oh, I had lost my train of thought. So if you know Bookto at the time, Bookto was a rough high school. I don't know what Bookto is like right now, but Bookto was like one of the toughest high schools in Akron. It was the most lit high school in Akron. Everybody from all the other high schools, whenever they played Bookto, everybody wanted to come to the games, football games, basketball games, whatever. Hey, it's 1040, So but Bookto was, like I said, Bookto was rough. It was rough. So the stuff that my parents see me deal with going to Bookto or heard about or whatever, they was like, "Oh, we're not gonna send those to Bookto, so we're gonna send them to Firestone." So I'm like, man, how y'all just gonna go here and just send me to that high school? And y'all know it's kind of dangerous, and it's like, okay, well, you could go through there. You went there 3 years or whatever, but no, your brother and sister about to get in high school, so we about to send them to Firestone. Which I was like, man, that's kind of messed up. But I mean, not only that, I, had to pick them up from school, take them home and everything. So it's just like when we was having these conversations about, our upbringing and, different things that we experienced, I started listening to my brother and sister's story on how we grew up. And it's just like, man, it's crazy like how different their perspective is on our upbringing compared to mine because we didn't experience the same things. Yes, we stayed in the same household. Um, yes, we were close in age. Like I said, we were 3 years apart, but um, our lives were, completely different. I remember when we was younger, my sister has always had, a close relationship with my mom because, that's her daughter. So I remember as I was getting older, I used to do stuff with my dad when I was younger. Like my dad was always into going to yard sales and like like dealing with my dad is an acquired taste, okay? Because like my dad, he talks to everybody, he talks for a long time. When we used to go to yard sales, it's like an all day thing. So as I got older or whatever, I kind of drew away from that. And then like my brother and my dad, they started, doing a lot more stuff together. So it was just like this dynamic where, my sister and my mom would be together, and my brother and my dad would be together, and I'm the oldest, so I was much more like resourceful, and I was doing my own thing, running the streets, doing some stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing, hanging with my older cousins and doing some things I wasn't supposed to be doing. We'll talk about that in upcoming episodes, and hang with my uncles, running the streets, trying to chase after girls, which I should have kept my mind on the books and off them girls. But so it was just like eye opening because I was like, man, I just saw that on Instagram about even though you have siblings and grew up in the same household, y'all experience life different, and you see your parents and how you grew up different. I was like, man, I'm just sitting there, we just sitting there reminiscing, listening to I'm just sitting there reminiscing, just listening to stories about, how how their experience was with my mom, how their experience um, was with my father, and you know, I don't want to really speak too much for them when it comes to my father, but right now, um, we all don't have a good relationship with our father, and uh, I'm trying to see how I want to phrase this. Um, I think sometimes, not sometimes. I think that people need to listen to what other people have to say instead of playing the victim role all the time. And when you listen to what people have to say, if you really value the relationship with these people and you really want to have a good relationship with people, you need to change your ways. Um, you need to change some of the things that you do. And even it's crazy because, like I said, like going back to how we experience life, there was stuff that my brother and sister was telling me that that they knew that I didn't know. And it was stuff that I was telling my brother and sister that I knew that, they didn't know. And it's crazy. We all have it. We all have it. We all have those family secrets that's like, man, when you hear them, you like, what? And, some of that, popped up yesterday while we was talking. Um, so it's just like, it's just crazy. Just hearing, like, when you're aware of it, it's just crazy that hearing that, even though I, let's say, yeah, yeah, I've known my brother and sister all our lives, and we've been around each other all our lives, and we lived in the same household for, well, not leave the house when I was 24. So we was in the same house for like 17 years with each other. It's just crazy just to hear that y'all had so. I mean, I know you have differences, but like, you don't know like the full scope on how different the um the relationships were with your parents, and how they came up, and how they feel about their upbringing, and how the upbringing shaped them as an adult. So it's just crazy when you hear that. And since we own life on diagonal, and we're being transparent and everything, like, I just ate, so you hear my stomach growling. So it's just because my stomach growling loud. So, you know hey, we human. So, um, but I just wanted to go ahead and do that episode, and just talk about that, because it's very interesting, like how I saw that, and then a couple weeks later, I'm dealing with that situation, or it came about, and it's like, man, I was like, this is exactly what that clip was talking about. So, um, as always, what did I learn from this situation? So, what I learned from this situation is that life is just not all about me, and sometimes we can just get uh, just have like tunnel vision, and not realize that other people are dealing with. Maybe they may be around the same people, but they're dealing with the situation differently. So, um, I guess to be more aware on how people feel, and uh just hearing how, just, I guess, just having conversations like we did yesterday, just talking about stuff, and just realizing, like, man, I looked at my upbringing this way, and they looked at their upbringing another way. So, I mean, that was cool. What I can do better, I guess, would, just continue to have these conversations with family members, with my brother and sister, to listen to them, continue to share, continue to reminisce, continue to I'm looking at my mom's obituary. I didn't have any. When my mom passed away at her funeral, I had left my obituary on the pew. Somebody picked it up. I think when the funeral director. So I didn't have obituary for my mom for the longest. My son has one, and I was gonna take it from him, but I was like, no, this is his meemaw, so he could keep that. So when I was over my sister's house yesterday too, I got, my sister has a whole bunch of obituaries. So I finally got an obituary from my house from my mom. So I just keep looking at it, because she's looking at me, and she's probably looking at me like, why are you telling everybody our business? But hey, calm down, mom. But what I can do, like I said, just continue just to reminisce, have fun, and be around family, I guess. Um, so hey, it's another episode of Life on Diagonal. If you're gonna like it, you're gonna like it. If you're gonna share it, you're gonna share it. And if you're gonna subscribe, you're gonna subscribe to it. I'm not gonna force you to do it. I want you to do this, and I want you to do what you feel like you should do. Um, I'm just here just to have a conversation, try to help people. If there's anything I can do better, leave it in the comments. Let me know. I could, look over it, and you know, and see what I could do. Matter of fact, I posted something on TikTok the other day, and somebody left a good comment about dang, what was it about? Oh, about things that I could do better. Not things I could do better, but some personality traits that I deal with, that some personality traits that I have that may get on other people's nerves. And they left a comment like, well, have you thought about maybe you do this X, Y, and Z because of this? And I was like, man, I never thought about that. So, having these conversations and leaving comments always help. So until next time, hope you're having a wonderful day, life, journey, and hey, try to make it through the hard times. Peace.
Think about it. First you born, then you live and die. So if tomorrow never comes, it comes at no surprise. Looking death into his eyes, yeah, I witness guys start to recognize, analyze their own demise. Some people wasting time, walking around hypnotized, blinded